You may not know that, but in addition to being Polish, I also have a quarter of German blood in me, which makes me somewhat controlling and OCD once in a time. It showed last Sunday when I noticed that after mowing the grass, our people left big piles of grass clipping in the green area. It was driving me crazy for about 20 hours. And then my OCD took over, and I said to myself, okay, Father Tom is here, I don't have to do the Polish Mass, so I can change and take care of these grass clippings because I will go crazy if they stay there 1 hour longer. So I put my dirty shorts, my old Snickers, my baseball hat, and at 10:15 I went to the green area and was raking the grass clippings. Well, most of the time you see me either in these fabulous vestments or my clergy collar, not in old shorts, Snickers, and a dirty baseball hat. So no wonder nobody recognized me. I was invisible for an hour and a half. 2 people only have said to me, hey buddy, have a good day. How are you? Everybody else just passed by as if I was invisible. I didn't intend it to be a social experiment, but it ended up as one. When the Polish people were coming to 11 o'clock Mass, one would hope that since this Mass is so small, they would know my face. No. Nobody said goodbye, good morning, how is your Sunday? I was just, I guess they thought, a new caretaker or someone the church had hired to take care of our property. I was just a blue-collar worker, nobody worthy of their attention. You know, Shakespeare says, clothes maketh man. And I guess to some extent they do. When you see me in my suit and a collar on vestments, we are all about being reverent and polite and kind, and we are happy to see you, Father. But when out of the sudden I am in my dirty Snickers and baseball hat, I become invisible. This is not to make you feel bad, this is just to reflect on how we interact with other people. When we see someone in a suit and a white collar and a tie, usually it automatically makes us respect them more. When we see someone in a uniform, a firefighter perhaps, a police officer, that uniform demands respect. If you see someone in scrubs, you know they are in a healthcare. Clothes do maketh man. Clothes send a clear signal what is your function in society. And yet, Jesus reminds us today that it should not be about who is more or who is less important. I often say that for a good church to grow, for a church to be a thriving and a vibrant community, the church needs to fulfill 3 conditions. 1 is good music, 2 is good preaching, and 3 is good and welcoming people. These 3 conditions need to coexist for a church to grow and be vibrant. We do have good music, we have okay preaching, and we have great members, we have great parishioners. For the last 10, 11 years I've been pushing and encouraging you and trying to teach all of us that we've got to be welcoming, we've got to be inclusive, otherwise we will not survive. And most of you have made huge progress in being truly happy and welcoming church members. But it cannot be limited only once you cross the door of the church and then you switch your happy mode and say, hey, good to see you, how was your Sunday? It needs to start on the parking lot or perhaps even on your way to church. When you see someone you haven't met before, doesn't matter white or blue color, make an effort to meet that person. Make an effort to make them feel good that they made it to church Sunday morning. Even if he or she is dirty and raking the leaves or doing the grass clippings, make them feel good about being here. Introduce yourself. Ask him or her, do you know what page or what book to open to find the readings? If you maybe have seen that person in the pew behind you or in front of you several times, but shamefully you still don't know her name, make a point to reintroduce yourself and say, I'm sorry, your first name keeps escaping me. Because without happy, welcoming church members, the church will not survive. We can have the first-class music. We can have Pope Francis come and preach every Sunday. But without people who go out of their way to welcome white colors and blue colors and no colors, this church will be slowly sliding down. Remember, it's not about how important you are at the table. It is how much of service you are at this table. Now, our second reading is quite interesting text. The introduction line says a reading from the letter to the Hebrews. It used to say a reading from St. Paul's letter to the Hebrews, but now we know St. Paul did not write it. We also know it's not a letter. We also know it's not to the Hebrews. So all we know is that we don't know. It is a sermon, and in this sermon, today's passage says, you have not approached something gloomy and dark and powerful and perfect. No, you have come to a new Jerusalem, a festival city. A festival city. When you come to Sunday liturgy, when you come to church, you are not approaching something dark and gloomy. You are not approaching a time and a place where everyone has to be perfect in his or her Sunday best. You are approaching a new Jerusalem, a festival city. Basically, you are approaching a family gathering, a family meal. Think of your Thanksgiving meal. It's one of the happiest and one of the messiest events of the year. There is that crazy uncle that will always talk about politics no matter what. There is this old auntie who will cry every Thanksgiving. There are kids who are running and spilling things under the table, and it's one big and happy mess. Family events, family festivals are not perfect, am I right? There is always something burning, a drink perhaps is too strong or too weak for your liking. Nothing ends up the way it was designed to be, and yet with all that messiness, it is a happy event. because we are happy to be together with that crazy uncle, with the crying grandmother, with the kids with food smeared all over their faces. With all that messiness, when we come as a family, we are happy to be together. That's what needs to be happening when we come to church as well. It doesn't matter if the person next to you is wearing a blue collar and dirty sneakers and old shorts, or a nice suit with a tie. As a matter of fact, I saw a picture a few days ago that said, "This country was not built by men in suits and ties, but by men with jeans and dirty t-shirts." And if you think about all our troubles, all our economic troubles did not start with blue-collar workers, but with men on the Wall Street who wear expensive Armani suits and the best ties they can buy. As a church, we have to see everyone who comes here as an opportunity, as a family guest who makes our family messier but happier. There is no requirement to be clean shaved, to have a tie, and to look your best. The only requirement when we come here is to be a welcoming family, to accept our messiness, to see each other as a member of the same family. If you all want to be first, we all will end up as the last. Be humble, says the first reading from the book of Sirach, for God enjoys and blesses the humble.